Welcome to the Breakaway Entrepreneur Podcast, where master business coach Janet Fish and her special guests explore the characteristics and traits that lead entrepreneurs to success. Get ready for real conversations of what it takes to overcome real challenges and break away from your competition. Here's your host, Janet Fish.
Thanks, Ben. Before I launch into this week's episode, a word from our sponsor. If you're considering purchasing a new home and want a complimentary 30-minute pre-approval consultation, text the words home loan to area code 408-799-6853. Ross Rushton is a California licensed loan officer with Fairway Independent Mortgage, and he'd love to hear from you. This week, I had the pleasure of talking with Matthew Tortoriello and Kevin Shippee. Matthew and Kevin are seasoned real estate developers who have gone from owning 2 rental units to over 500 rental units in just 10 years. They've seen it all and share their insights and learnings on persistence and what it takes to survive through adversity. Growth requires both business systems and hiring team, topics Matt and Kevin have learned a lot about throughout the years. Please note, we were experiencing some sound lag, which you might find distracting. I toyed with the idea of not airing this episode because of that. However, I reconsidered because there's just so much good stuff in here. So I hope you enjoy our chat. All right, good afternoon. It's right at noon. So good afternoon. I am so excited to have you guys on the podcast. So welcome, Matthew Tortoriello. So I probably kind of butcher that a little bit. And Kevin Shippee. So thank you guys. So Matthew and Kevin are successful entrepreneurs. They're real estate investors. So near and dear to my heart because I am a real estate investor as well. They are students and they are teachers. So we're looking forward to learning from you today. What stood out to me in the information that you gave me before is you said success through growing and keeping the right team. And so we're going to talk a little bit about that today. So what I would love to start out with is just give us a little bit of background on how you guys got to where you are, and individually and together, because clearly you guys are a team. So talk a little bit about the journey to where you guys are today.
Sure. So I kind of started in real estate when I was 16 years old. And I actually bought a duplex and tried it out and, fixed it up, rented it out, and made a whole bunch of mistakes and ended up selling it probably about a year later and just kind of broke even and took a little hiatus from that for a little while until maybe about 4 years later, I bought a 4-family out in Michigan, trying kind of the extended thing. And I got my shirt complete. I got robbed by property managers. Then the whole property got robbed. So I was like, okay. Took another break. I'm like, all right. And then in college, I met Kevin, and I convinced him to start another business. And about 12 years ago, we started with buying a 2-family and kind of grew from there. And now we have over 500 rental units and a property management company and a flipping company and a wholesale company. So
awesome.
Yeah.
Kevin, you wanna chime in on any of that?
Yeah. So I never let a day go by without letting Matt know that he owes me big for starting this thing off and suckering me into the world of real estate about 12 years ago. No, it's been a very difficult but awesome journey. And when he said, he glazed over one of the hardest things, which is when he said, we bought a 2-family house, a little duplex. It was in a really challenging neighborhood on a challenging street in a challenging city in a challenging state with incredibly liberal laws that protect tenants. And we did not know where to start and what we were doing. We literally learned by doing, by walking across the minefield of real estate and losing a couple limbs here and there, but we, have made it to the other side at this point. And so that's one of the things that, we really wanted to do is make sure that we share our experiences and our mistakes specifically with anybody out there that's interested to help them avoid stepping on a couple of the mines that we have over the years.
Yeah, I've experienced that. I remember getting the call from the police or whoever it was that my property had been robbed. So I did fix and flips for 7-8 years in the Reno Sparks area of Nevada. Now I do buy and holds, much like you guys, but primarily I focus on coaching wonderful entrepreneurs. And I love you guys' story. I want you to elaborate a little bit more on the challenges. Okay, so a couple of missteps, and you guys could have easily, or Matthew could have easily said, hey, I'm done. Like, I've lost a bunch of money. This isn't for me. One of the things that I think makes entrepreneurs, at least successful ones, are the resilience. So talk a little bit about that process of how you just kept going and you tried different things until something worked.
Yeah. So, I mean, early on when we started the company that we're working on now is we bought a 2-family. We're kind of trying to figure out how to rent to someone and how to figure out the best process in the working with the courts and all the other systems. So it was really about trial and error and trying, one thing and making a mistake and then, trying something a little different, and also kind of trying to find from other landlords in the area and how they did it, before. I think that was kind of a big part.
Yeah, I think, one of the things we found as well is as we, I guess, dug a hole, we felt to ourselves, we've kind of dug this deep. We don't really want to just give up on what we worked on. Let's just dig a little more, let's keep trying. And then at that point, we're like, challenge X, Y, or Z might have hit. And we just, we're taking a beating constantly. And it's always something different. But we keep looking back at, look how much work we've put into this. We can't quit. We can't just stop. We've worked so hard. Let's get out of bed tomorrow. Let's get in the car. Let's go to work, and leave our home and go to the property and show up and keep trying some more. And that's literally what we just kept doing.
Well, then I think also what we kind of started seeing is then as we were doing this over like a year, then year two, we started having a team of employees and contractors that were kind of depending on us. So now we're like, oh, okay. So now we have people that we're working with, systems we're building. Yeah. That was a huge thing. We're like, all right, we can't let this fail. We have other people that are depending on us. Yeah. Let's figure out any other systems that we can put into place to make sure things grow more sustainably.
And I would say we're still that's still very much a core value to us. Whether it's our families, our significant others, and now our staff. There's just so many people that we feel an obligation to work hard and find a way to succeed, even if it doesn't mean personal success. I mean, last year, one of my favorite things to think about was that all of the people that work for us and all the people that are involved in us, have presents under the tree around the holidays or a roof over their heads, or they, because of what we built and have created. I might not be driving around in a Rolls Royce, but I'm certainly helping everybody else and creating jobs. And I think even right now, especially, that's certainly what this country needs.
Yeah, I totally agree. So one of the things that struck me as you guys were talking, there's a woman I know very well. Her name is Sharon Lecter. She runs the Think and Grow Rich organization, and she wrote a book called 3 Feet from Gold. And she talks about how people, they work and they work and they work, and then they quit when they're 3 feet from gold. And so good on you guys. So I want you to explore a little bit more on how two things. First, the two of you working together, kind of how you sorted out the roles and how you decided how you were going to work together. Because I've seen a lot of clients that enter into partnerships and don't plan the divorce while you're in love, we like to say. So that's the first question. And then the second question is I want you to go more in depth about the teams that you've grown a team, clearly, what that was like, how you did that, some of the challenges that you encountered during that, and then how you got over those challenges.
Well, so when we first started, we were a little naive and we were like, everyone's equal partners. We're all, bringing the same value. And that's how we kind of started. It was like 50-50. And soon we realized we had to kind of divide things and figure out when we brought other investors on and stuff like that. Then things started changing. Like, well, all right, who's bringing what value? And it took some, real thinking and soul searching and trying to figure out because no one wants to hear that they're less valuable than someone else. And so that was kind of a little training process. And I think we kind of, all gravitated to something that was, as far as roles, that really fit us. So Kevin, who was a communications major, he easily slid into more like tenant relations and working with the court systems. Whereas I, had a kind of a background with my grandfather with plumbing. So I kind of more into the construction side. Mm-hmm. And I kind of started, doing a lot of the more hands-on stuff like that, maintenance supervisor and stuff like that.
Yeah. And I mean, they, early on, my partners and the guys that were working with us saw me try to paint or fix things. And it quickly became apparent where my values did not lie. So they don't let me pick up tools anymore or carry them. So I mean, sometimes it's pretty easy to find how you can and can't contribute to a partnership. Sure.
And then talk a little bit about how you grew your team.
So we started out with more of a need. So it was just the two of us, basically working out of our cars early on, and we then kind of had an apartment, and we kind of took one of the rooms out of the apartment. That'll be our office, and we're like, all right, well, I can't do all the maintenance anymore, so we kind of put up an ad. I think it was in Craigslist or something like that, trying to find people and started interviewing some people for like a maintenance person. And it just kind of kept, out of need. We just kept saying, all right, well, now we have 50 units. So, we need an extra maintenance guy. Oh, we got to 100 units. Now we need another maintenance guy. And then it all kind of came from there. And then accounting is kind of overrun, and we're going to need another person to fill that role. So as opposed to getting the cart before the horse, we kind of kept,
a little bit. And some of the mistakes we made in that fashion were, undervaluing the need for the right team members. I mean, we would, get somebody that could do maintenance, but this person, or people were, extremely rough around the edges because, what we were offering for compensation really wasn't going to attract somebody that wasn't so rough around the edges. So, we got people that were rolling in to do maintenance, and they're wearing sweatpants and smelling like stale smoke, and going into a tenant's home, it doesn't exactly bring across the right level of professionalism that is really important when you're entrusting,
assets. We were a little penny wise, pound foolish.
Absolutely. Well, also, don't forget, times weren't exactly great all the time too. So we were really crunched, and we just had to do what we had to do. So there's a lot of reasons for it. But, a piece of feedback to anybody that's watching this would be to realize some of those side effects when you have to, have maybe a more lenient hiring process, I suppose, to put it politely. You're going to have some intangible issues that come with that, and we found those intangible issues to be very expensive. I mean, we eventually were able to restaff and continue improving our team, and man, just the quality of what we get as a result of that, just phenomenal. Absolutely phenomenal.
Not even just our staff, even so we work with a lot of subcontractors, and the same thing with them. Increasing the quality that we're getting and expectations from them, and we've got now we have over 25 employees, and we have probably over 50 different contractors that we work with, and all of them I'd say are definitely better than we were 5 years ago and 10 years ago.
Oh yeah, huge.
So you guys went from 2 units to 500 units in the course of what you said, 12 years. And clearly part of that growth had to be...
Look.
Go ahead.
He was saying it was 10 years, but we've been in business for 12, but
Okay. So still it's rapid. It's rapid growth. Whether it's 10 years or 12 years, 10 years better. And I know that it's staffing and I know it's systems, but there's a lot of people out there who are in that spot of, I want to go to that next level and I'm just not sure kind of how to do it. Can you give some just ideas of how you guys dealt with the growth and how you guys, systems that you put, like specific systems that you put in place? How do you manage it? I get it's with people but how do you manage 500 properties? And how'd you grow into that?
Well, So one of the biggest things which we were told early on by another property manager that we decided not to listen to, but was the piece of advice he said would be getting good property management software. And honestly, for the first 2 or 3 years, we said, oh, no, we don't need that. We can't afford it. We'll spreadsheets. And wow, what a mistake that was. So once we actually got on good property management software and having, utilizing the systems that they've built and then integrating it with our team and our tenants and all that stuff, we started seeing everything work a lot smoother and more efficient.
Yeah. And just in addition to that, as owners, that basically have, again, remember, employees that count on them for this business to stay alive. We had to keep it in mind, and it was just a core value, I think, anyway, that, you have to do anything that needs to be done. If that means getting up earlier or staying out later, there was many, many days we would not get home to our significant others or wherever we were going at the end of the day to, till midnight or 2 a.m. There's been many times, we'd have to get out of bed at midnight and one of us would have to go to a property or, we'd call each other and say, hey, did you see that call that came in? Yep, sure did. Okay, well, I'll meet you out there. And, you can't put anything that's it's beneath you. As an owner, it's kind of like what I assume, maybe being a parent would be like. You have to do whatever it is you need for your kids.
But I think what we did was we saw those. So yes, we were very hands-on early.
Right.
And I think we saw that as a pain point. And we're like, all right, well, how can we actually change this? How can we delegate this task and put a system around it? So we're not always out there late. And someone else also is not out there late. Right. So we started, looking into that kind of thing. So for instance, being out there late, having an on-call service where we had a 800 number that's, 24-hour staff that would then, get forwarded over to my cell phone, his cell phone, and then we would rotate on call with the maintenance staff. All right, you're on call, this week, and then so on and so on. And we kind of grew that over the years, and that allowed us to pull back and work on the higher level stuff, not always having to be out there waiting for the gas company at midnight or whatever it might be.
Absolutely. I haven't had to respond to a maintenance call on a holiday in quite some time, a couple of years now, at least.
Yay, that's good. So I'm sure you guys have some great stories to tell. I know there's some things that you had told me. So share a couple of your most interesting things that you have run into over the years.
I don't know where to even start. Yeah, we could probably speak on almost any kind of topic. How extreme? Give me something as a starting point here.
Well, someone put a bird in my ear about someone leaving because there was a ghost. I was told that maybe you got attacked by a former client. Yep. Some claustrophobia.
That's a little bit of a longer one. We can do that. I mean,
do some of the more tame ones, or maybe not.
So let's talk. So we had a tenant that, in this one is actually the ghost and the claustrophobic story is actually all one. And we were getting calls from her, wanted to move, and she just was giving all these different excuses. And then finally her excuse was she's seeing ghosts. And we're like, okay. I mean, want to go into
we sent the exterminator right over, but
right.
No. So she was a challenging person. She was a very challenging tenant, and the majority of your tenants out there really are back. But it's only fun to talk about the wacky ones, right? So this is one who she had called code enforcement a number of times on, and she's renting a very cute little single family house. It's this very tiny little single family home, and she's complaining that the heat doesn't work properly. The bedrooms, which are upstairs, are freezing cold. And, she's not paying rent. She's playing the regular tenant game. So she calls basically what our local equivalent of the Board of Health would be, code enforcement. They go out to inspect, and these guys are talking, basically what she's doing, she's running her kitchen stove full blast, the burners and the oven. She's got a pot of boiling water on the stove. And this kitchen is just off of the living room where the thermostat is. So, of course, the thermostat is getting a reading of the home being 90 degrees because she's running her stove heated, and the stove is right near-ish the thermostat. So, of course, the heating system isn't kicking on because the heating system believes that it's 90 degrees in the house. Why would the heating system run? So naturally, the upstairs bedroom doors are closed, and the bedrooms themselves aren't getting any direct heat because the heating system is not kicked on. So code enforcement comes out there, is basically looking at this issue and discussing it. And, we had a hard time helping them understand, the heating system works fine. She's kind of manipulating it, to be off because she's, heating with the stove. Bottom line is she believed the heating system wasn't working, so she had to run the stove. And all of this is because they're freezing cold and they don't feel warm. And it was 75 in the home when we were running our heating system, but, I'm too cold. And Matt was smart enough to actually notice something. He sees I think it was the daughter of the tenant.
The daughter, yep. So Kevin and I went over there to try to, talk to the tenant and hopefully get her to understand a little bit better.
Yeah, I mean, we couldn't help them make sense of how the stove was throwing everything off.
Right.
So we appealed to a basic sense of logic.
Right. And so we went over there, and the first thing we noticed with the daughter and actually the mother is they were in tank tops, no socks, and in shorts.
You can bank on it. They always do this.
And I was like, I would recommend, it is winter in New England. You might want to put a sweatshirt on.
You feel cold. Why wouldn't you wear warmer clothes? I mean, it's right, logic.
Right. And her response was, I can't wear a sweatshirt. I'm claustrophobic.
I'm freaking claustrophobic. I can't wear a sweatshirt. She's wrapped herself in a blanket.
Right.
But she's claustrophobic and can't wear a hoodie. Jeez. What do you do with that? Like, how do you communicate with somebody like that to a point where you're just not face palming yourself,
Well, by the way, this is the family also that later on we got a call for a clogged toilet. And,
oh my God.
And yep. And I was like, all right. So I went over there at the time. This was early in the career, and I was like, all right, I'm trying to snake it, and I can't think my way through it. And so I had to pull the toilet, and I flip it upside down, and I find a steak bone. And someone had flushed their whole plate of dinner.
Scraped the plate right into the toilet.
Yep. I asked them, like, what happened? I'm like, why did you do that? And they're like, where was I supposed to put it? I'm like, in the trash. Why would you put it down the toilet? There's not like a grinder or something in there.
I don't know. You can't make this stuff up. I must say that at least once a week. I just don't understand. Every week I say to myself, I've seen it all, and then something new happens.
Like last week.
Like last week, what happened last week? I try to repress everything, in case you don't realize. I try to repress as much as I can. What happened last week?
Do you remember at Wilcox?
Oh my God, yeah. Now with the little domestic thing there, yeah. Yeah, we can give that. So, domestic disputes, that it sucks. It is unfortunately something that does happen from time to time. But I've never quite seen one like this. This was pretty bad. Without going, I give all the details about everything, but the apartment itself, took the brunt of this one. So the tenant's former significant other, I guess, came home or showed up. And they took their aggression out on our apartment rather than also the individual, but the apartment with a hammer.
Yep.
Oof.
They missed almost nothing. They literally missed the kitchen sink. That's about it.
Yep. They smashed all of our windows, doors.
Triple pane windows.
Yep. Hammer through the toilet for some reason. I don't know why.
Every single door, almost every single wall, got a hammer hole through it.
Yep.
The apartment is rendered uninhabitable because it doesn't have working plumbing and it wasn't secured. So in our state, the landlord essentially in this case, well, in all cases, would basically be responsible for providing this person with housing. So after that household did all that damage to our home, we were going to be stuck with the further insult of having to put them up in a hotel. Yep. Can you believe? Until at such time as we could make the apartment habitable. Incredible.
Yeah, well, and so that's why I did business in Nevada. Things are a little different there.
The victim.
It's easy to get people out. It's a lot easier to do things. They're a little bit different.
So the gentleman was the victim.
Go ahead.
Yep. Sorry, but the gentleman who was the victim, actually, I appreciate that he was trying, but he went to try to fix the toilet and replace it and, fix it. He was trying to do the right thing. But unfortunately, he broke the flange, he broke the main stack, and he broke the floor. So he made our job so much more. So I had to spend a whole day. We had to, put a whole new subfloor in, reconnect the stack, and bring everything up. So.
Well, and
Yeah,
I mean, I've been there because I haven't been doing it for 10 years, but I did it for 8, and I have some stories to tell as well. So, and it's all about the perseverance of, hey, this happens, and it should be built into the numbers, and so that you guys can survive these kind of things. I guess my next question would be, we're going through, an interesting time with COVID. Has that affected your business? Has it affected acquiring new properties? Has it affected, not being able to evict people? Kind of how is it affected? And if it's affected it in a negative way, what have you guys done to flip that or to pivot that or to counteract that? Because I think a lot of us are looking at ways to redo or readjust given our new world.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, wow. So it's all, again, we're from Massachusetts. It's already incredibly challenging here. I mean, to the point of lunacy, of how difficult it is to get someone who isn't paying for your services, to leave. It seems like the most logical and basic thing out there, but already it's very, very tough. So when you threw, Corona into the mix, everything went out the window. We still can't and probably won't for any good length of time have access to the court system, which is just crazy. Tenants that haven't paid, that have racked up balances with us, are going to continue to run amok until, the court backlog of all these thousands of units that are out there being rented makes its way through. So we don't really, even once the moratorium expires, if and when it expires, we don't really have a clear path out of it. The amazing thing is, in terms of our acquisitions, we actually have acquired some property that still has people living in it, former owner occupants, for instance, in maybe a foreclosure. That's a good example, actually. We obtained a home at a foreclosure auction. The owner occupant was still in it. They refused to leave. We took them through the court process, won it completely. And I know every state is different on how the process works, but we were at the end. The sheriff, and it's a long process, but the sheriff had the paperwork, had a date scheduled to physically remove them. 2 days before that date arrived, they got, paused by Corona. So we literally have been sitting on the property with a tenant there, that, we still have to keep the property up, and pay the taxes on it, pay all the, the running of the property. And that's not even the only one, but that one, in that case, we actually had, everything was done. The judge had decided on everything. We just were forced to stop, and not conduct the move out, even though the legal process had completely played itself out. So, that was going to be a flip. I mean, that was going to be something we renovated and hopefully sold for a profit, or something that what we really love to do is put in the hands of an investor, in the hands of a flipper. And we actually help kind of provide some training wheels. So new flippers have the ability to, be as successful as possible, processing their flips and developing their business.
Right.
And it was poised and ready. We had somebody ready to buy it. We had people moved out or about to be moved out. And that all got, paused without our say so. The way I like to phrase it is, we're the only business. This business is one of the only businesses in the country that we were forced to stay open and provide our services with really no ability to collect on payment for that. Incredible. But there is some silver lining. We've done a lot to survive this, and we've been actually pretty successful in surviving it. A lot of our tenants, most of our tenants, pay us. Like I said, it's fun to talk about the bad tenants out there, but we still believe, even in spite of all we've seen, that people are basically good. And we found that the majority of our tenants, we were able to pay, and it's a lot of it's through extraordinary. You can tell her about our little trip. Yeah, our systems and our trip out and stuff like that. But it's through extraordinary attempts and processes that we've put in place to help ensure that Matt can actually take over.
Yeah. So some of the systems that we put in play to kind of work with the coronavirus and kind of work with our clients and tenants is what we've done is like a drip campaign where people get text messaging, emails on a constant basis if they have a balance. So they're reminded about it, especially if they're getting subsidized from the government with extra $600 unemployment checks, all that stuff. This way they can make sure it's on top of their mind. So the squeaky wheel getting the grease.
Yeah. And that's proven actually very, very useful.
Exactly. From there, we then, there was a couple programs that we found out about that if you had a backload rent, the government put together some kind of, it's called a RAP program here. Other, places have, called a little different, but where they would pay basically up to $4,000 of your back rent.
Yeah. It's basically, it's stabilization money. The government has finally woken up to realize it's cheaper to help keep these people in place than it is to take them and put them in hotels or shelters or provide them with government funded housing.
Right. So we added that to our drip campaign. So this way it would have like the link to the URL. So all they had to do is click that link and they could sign up on there, as well as follow up with different calls. But even Kevin and I would actually go out and knock on people's doors and have a tablet with us that has, connected to the cellular, so that we can say, hey, here, just fill this right out. We'll help you right here. And then usually after that process, once they filled that out, we took care of the rest. We kind of were calling the subsidy workers and stuff like that and following up and saying, where we're at with the process. Oh, that you need, social security card for the tenant. Great. We'll call them. We'll get that for you. All that kind of stuff. Just whatever it took to, really get that process rolling.
Yeah. I mean, I was getting, different answers from different people. Oh, I've been calling them. They don't call me back. I'm trying to get the funds, but they're not helping me. And then I call or email the worker, and the worker says, oh, we haven't heard from them. And I was literally able to actually do a 3-way call the other day, and I didn't tell anybody about it. I just got one person on the phone. I pushed the button and got the other person on the phone. I was like, here, you two talk. Like, we need to pay our staff. Come on, we need this money coming in. Figure this out. We're all together, and so we've done very well.
I was going to say, I love that, and I'll just wrap up. I love that because you got to do whatever it takes. And the fact that you guys went, not only did you find out about the programs, but you walked people absolutely through the programs so that they could get relief and you guys could get relief. That's what entrepreneurs do. Like, that's what we're all doing in this time of how are we doing things differently? We're picking up whatever we can and we're moving the ball down the field in any way that we can. So awesome, guys. I really appreciate your time. You are awesome. You guys have given us some great ideas, and I just love the fact that it's the resiliency. It's you guys just staying in it. So I just absolutely love that. All right. Okay, breakaway entrepreneurs. While it's true that success starts with your mindset, it takes massive action to get there. So a wholehearted thank you to Matthew and Kevin for spending some time with us. We learned a whole lot about resiliency and how to deal with crazy tenants and to deal with our new normal, which is, you guys are in probably one of the worst situations as far as we're protecting the renters, but we're not necessarily providing relief to the landlord. So I love you guys. I appreciate you guys. I really, really enjoyed our chat today, and I'm going to let Ben take us out. Thanks so much.
Thank you for listening to the Breakaway Entrepreneur Podcast. If you like the show, please rate, recommend, and review us on Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts so we can share more actionable insights with the entrepreneur community. Until next time, challenge your mindset, be bold, take action, and financial freedom will follow. You can get helpful resources and templates to guide and inspire you from Janet's free Breakaway Entrepreneur Toolkit. Get it now by going to www.breakawaybusinesscoaching.com/toolkit.